On Baba Seba, you reached out to me to do a follow-up actually of the last show coined The Verdict. What are the concerns that you felt needed to actually be followed up on?
Well, you know, first of all, I want to say hats off to my brother, Minister Sharon Hopkins, for, you know, participating in the discussion in part one. I have a lot of respect for him, and but you know, that was a conversation. I think this particular video is going to be more so about teaching, because there's some very important things that has to be emphasized, that we will not be doing though this subject of the verdict the proper justice if we don't come back and then emphasize the most important aspects of the things of this ongoing trial. Because number one, you can't say that people have been made accountable because the sentencing hasn't taken place. What if they give them 2 days in jail? You call that accountability? So this ain't over. The sentencing hasn't taken place. There's no need to clap your hands and celebrate anything, because justice is not visible until you see sentencing. So I wanted to come back and do a follow-up so that we can have a little discussion about the upcoming aiding and abetting trial of the 3 officers who were with or present during the murder of George Floyd. It's very important that we as a community be proactive. You know, I'm tired of us waiting until the damage is already done and then we hit the streets and want to be reactive. It's too late, the man's dead. You know, the atrocity has already taken place. And of course, that's out of our control. But let's try to tackle some of the things that we have the potential of having an impact on. And that's why I thought it was important to follow up dealing with the upcoming trial, or the upcoming trial of these 3 other officers, and the trial that's dealing with the aiding and abetting. This is extremely important because we're really talking about, well, we're gonna get into the video. The second thing I wanted to follow up on was the question, who and what is a Keith Ellison? You know, I've had a few days to calm down. So sometimes, you know, but whenever I think about this guy, I had to put it in the question, who and what is a Keith Ellison? So I want to talk about that. And then from an overall perspective, I want to talk about white supremacy versus Black empowerment. White supremacy versus Black empowerment. You know, using the vernacular, who you with? White supremacy versus Black empowerment. Who you with?
Teach.
Those are the things that we want to cover today for the follow-up.
I've known you for a long time, Baba Seba, and I tell you, I sense that you are very upset. What exactly is it that has gotten you so upset? Let's talk about that exact thing that has made our Baba Seba so upset.
Well, yeah, you know me. You know, we've known each other a long time.
You were like, you was hot.
We've known each other a long time.
Yes.
And as we've decided to be partners in this endeavor to liberate the hearts, minds, and bodies of African people, we've gotten to know each other even more so. And I appreciate you, Queen Mother, and all of the things you do for this organization. It's really understated, but I want to let you know over there, you're greatly appreciated. But in two words, to answer your question, what got me so daggone upset, trying not to use profanity, which I might not be able to maintain that, is Keith Ellison. Keith
Mm.
Ellison.
Who is that?
Keith Ellison. Which sparked my anger is that after our last show, you know, the 60 Minutes interview took place, and watching him on 60 Minutes confirmed a lot of things for me, you know. And, you know, once again, I wanted to deal with being proactive as it relates to asking the community to apply pressure, you know, as it relates to this aiding and abetting trial that's coming up. Because there's a higher issue at hand. It's not just about no 3 officers. We're talking about the problem of police brutality waged against Black people. It's just a part of white supremacy, but we're talking about police brutality waged against Black people. So there's a higher issue involved. And a higher issue as it relates to these 3 officers is silent complicity.
Mm.
Silent complicity will be on trial. And see, what we need from the Black community is to put pressure on prosecutors, to put pressure on judges, put pressure on the whole criminal justice system with the energy and the force that will make them feel the pressure. That we need a stiff and a harsh sentencing. We need a stiff and a harsh prosecution. Why? Because we want to make an example out of these 3 officers, not because of them individually, but we need to make an example out of these 3 officers in order to crush or dismantle this thing we call silent complicity. Because as we talked about in the previous video, everybody knows who the races are on the job that you work. All of us, everybody knows who the races are. But when it comes to white folks, when they're in the company of a racist, when they're telling quote unquote nigger jokes and what have you, it's just cute and funny to white folks because it's no threat to them, you know. But they can identify the individuals that are, I mean, a white supremacist is no threat to a white person. So the same thing exists in the police departments. Mm-hmm. And what the police departments all over America has failed to do, and I can't really say they've failed because they've never attempted to do it. In our eyesight, most Black people who are, in my opinion, deceived, would feel that they have failed to purge those departments of these racist cop killers who are among their ranks. And so, politically speaking, we can take this opportunity to use our energy to disable, you know, to handicap, to crush silent complicity before, so that we can send a message across the country that these people enable these killer cops to have a job, to have a place. Because even in this particular case, Derek Chauvin put his knee on the neck of a Black man for 9 minutes until his last breath left his body. These 3 officers not only didn't save their life, which is their job to do, which we pay taxes, we pay their salary. So I don't appreciate every time we talk about a killer cop, somebody got to bring up the idea of, well, Black folks kill each other. That has nothing. We don't put, Black people are not on our payroll. Black people, we don't pay Black people out of our taxes to serve and protect. So we pay these individuals who are supposed to serve and protect. And then they turn around and kill unarmed Black people. See, those 3 officers were supposed to protect this man's life. They took an oath to serve and protect. They didn't have an oath to Derek Chauvin. They took an oath to serve and protect the community.
That's right.
So they failed. They fail. So they need to, when they go on trial, we need to apply enormous pressure on whoever prosecutor. And the reason why you feel this sense of anger in me, because this directly relates to the 60 Minutes interview about Keith Ellison. You see, Keith Ellison is an archetype problem for Black people. Let me say that again. Keith Ellison, because this speaks to the question who and what is Keith Ellison? Keith Ellison is an archetype problem for Black people. We have other problems, but he is definitely a member of the archetypes that do what he did in the 60 Minutes interview. You know? And one of the things that got me, well, I guess we'll go. I got some things that I want to share on the screen that we can get into. And maybe I can stop and elaborate as we get on those things.